Hello and welcome to the Aspire Guide to ICT Level 2 Functional Skills, where we'll be continuing to look at Set 21. In this video we'll be looking at Task 3, which in this case is a newsletter, and Task 3 is surprisingly the question in which the key marks are most often dropped. And this can be a little bit confusing at first, and one of the reasons is Task 3 is very opaque in what it asks from the candidates. Task 2 has a nice set of steps that takes you through the spreadsheet asking you exactly what it wants, but the instructions for Task 3 are all on one page, and you can see here count for 18 marks as well, which is exactly the same as Task 2. So all we know about Task 3 is it must fit to one side of A4, must be formatted in columns, and it must be fit for purpose. And that this newsletter must include the text, the information from section A, the image from section A, one other suitable image from the images set that you've been given, and also the logo from the images set that you've been given. And also a key part is saving it as a meaningful file name in your test folder. This means giving it a file name as something like newsletter or football newsletter and not question 3, task 3. This is an extra mark that people do miss out on a lot. So if we have a look at the mark scheme for question 3 and also an example that I've produced of the kind of newsletter, we can see where the marks are being picked up in this question. So we get 1 mark for using appropriate word processing software. So you can see I've done mine in Word, that's a mark already. We get another mark for having the newsletter as one side of A4 portrait. So I've managed to fit all my information in one page, and that's another mark. We get a mark for Footy Memories newsletter entered as given and the word title removed. So when you get the information in your text file, it will say title : and give you the title. We obviously want to remove that title and format that as a title. So we get an extra mark for that. All text from text set entered as given. So you can see I've copied all of the text that's been given to me in the text file. None of it has been changed other than where it's asked me to. None of it's been deleted and nothing's been added. So that's a mark in itself as well. The 6th mark we get for including the information correctly that we've been asked to include from question 1. In this case that was Billy and the 1st of August 2015 for the name of the horse in the White Horse FA Cup Grand Final and also the date of the Women's FA Cup Final. So these questions require you to read the text that's been given and find those, usually it's a pair of carets, a pair of slashes, as the area to enter the information that you've been given. We get a 7th mark for an image of the old Wembley Stadium included, which you can see I've done that. We get an 8th mark for one logo, and just one logo, not two, one logo inserted above or below the body text, either beside the title or the contact information. You can see I put mine up in the top right hand corner next to the title. We get our 9th mark for one other suitable image from the images set that we've been given. In this case I chose the image of the programme, which you can see on the right here, and I put that in the correct place under Programmes. Okay. Which is what we get our 10th mark for here. You can see our 10th mark says that the images are located with or adjacent to the relevant text and do not truncate or obscure text. So sometimes candidates will fall into the trap of putting all the images that they want at the bottom of their text or at the top of their text. What this is looking for is for you to be able to read through the text and place your pictures or your graphics next to the relevant text. So you can see my programmes. My programme image is under the programmes heading, and my image of the old Wembley is under a heading that says Wembley. So those suitable. Our 12th mark we can see we get for having our title formatted to stand out from our body text. It must clearly be a title and at least 2 points larger than the subheadings and the body text. So you can see for my title, I've made that a different font to the rest of the body text and to the subheadings. I've made it bold, I've underlined it, and I've also made it a larger font. And it is at least 2 points larger. You can check how large it is by looking in the Home tab, and here's your font size. So if I click Footy Memories Newsletter and go to font size, you can see it currently it's at 20. Whereas my subheadings, if I click my subheadings, go back there, are at 16. Okay, we get our 13th mark by having our headings and subheadings formatted consistently to stand out from the body text. So again, this is going to require you to read through the text and to pick out what seems to be appropriate headings and what are appropriate subheadings. These will be in order, so it won't be a case of rearranging information. It will just be a case of identifying that Welcome to issue 12, for example, looks like a heading. This month's Interesting Facts looks like a heading, so I'm going to make it look like a heading by making it bold, giving it a colour, making it underlined. The same for subheadings. So subheadings, we had White Horse FA Cup Final, Women's FA Cup Final, and then this month's Star Buys was a heading, and subheadings were football shirts, signed photographs and programmes. So it requires a little bit of reading and just a little bit of basic comprehension as to what would seem suitable there. So we get our 14th mark for having our body text appropriate and a consistent font size within sections. So you can see within each of the sections, the font is the same size, it's the same font, and everything looks neat and tidy. We get our 15th mark, we can see, for using any of these formatting features. Sometimes you might get 1 mark for formatting features, sometimes you might get 2. But the things that we want to tend to use are a page border, line between columns. You can see I've not got one here, but I do have a page border. All the headings and subheadings centre aligned, so you can see that they're all in the centre of their columns. Justification of body text. So justification means that you can see my text is pulled right up to a left-hand side margin and the right-hand side margin in each of the columns. I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. Correct use of text wrap around images. So that's something that candidates can struggle a little bit with. You can see that text wrapping helps us to fit our pictures appropriately and neatly next to the text that we want it to sit next to without the text jumping all over the place. So you can see everything looks nice and neat. There's no unnecessary text next to my pictures. Everything's where I want it to be. And finally, consistent use of bullet points where appropriate. So you can see under the football shirts, I had some opportunities to put some bullet points in and sign photographs in the programmes, and I chose to do that. It just makes it look a little bit neater and helps to show my skills in being able to format. Okay. Finally, we get our 17th mark for having the newsletter meeting all the previous criteria and having a consistent and balanced layout. If it looks professional, if it looks balanced and consistent, if the font and the format of your headings is the same throughout, if you've not jumped and used different fonts and different formats in different sections, then that's going to pick you up an extra mark. And finally, the very last mark, the 18th mark, is for that appropriate file name. So making sure you save it as something like Footy Memories Newsletter rather than Question 3 ICT Test 14th of March or whatever date that might be. So it needs to relate to the task that's been given rather than the exam that you're sitting. Okay, so that's a quick run through of the mark scheme and where you pick up marks. In the next video, I'll show you actually how to create this newsletter from scratch, so you can see that how all these things are formatted and how we do actually arrange them. Okay.